topic is going to be basically the beginning of 2020 until the start of June, I guess, and the crap shit that all hit the fan. So we pretty much wrapped up SPS in the terms of my symptoms and how I got diagnosed and my continued symptoms and all that stuff. So we're going to kind of move on a little bit. From January to March of 2020, things seemed to just kind of get worse when it came to symptoms at work and my ability to continue to work 40 hours a week. So I made the move to go out on disability. And I've already talked about that and gave a song in reference to that. We had a ton of paperwork to fill out, so I was actually glad that we did that right before COVID hit and before I lost my vision, or my poor husband would have been doing a whole lot of paperwork all by himself, which he already is, but it would have been a lot more. So for that sake, I'm glad that the vision part didn't come until later. These first couple of falls are going to be hard to talk about, but it is what happened. So it's something that I feel like I need to get off my chest. So maybe there will be a little less, not guilt per se, because I certainly didn't fall on purpose, but there is the lingering element of the fact that everybody that was in the house had to take care of me and feel those emotions of having me having fallen. So the first fall was actually at the very end of May. I had actually just gone for a run, a very short run, like a 1 mile run, maybe 1.5, testing out how the Botox was doing. Had a stomach cramp and a leg cramp at the top of the stairs at the same time as I was about to start walking down the stairs. Went about 3/4 of the way down. My husband was working from home, came running out of the office and caught me before I went all the way down. My daughter was actually sitting at the bottom of the stairs, so she got a full view of the fall. My husband then got some peas or something out of the freezer and moved his work into the living room, and we watched a movie and we made sure that I didn't fall asleep. 2 days later, unfortunately, in a terrible, unconventional combination of errors or comedy of errors that I don't necessarily need to get into probably, but ended up being when they released me from the hospital, they released me saying that I was a combination of dehydration and potential concussion from having fallen 2 days before. So it was a Friday night, and it might have been either the last day in May or the first day in June. At this point, it's all kind of a blur. My husband was working the overnight shift, and I tucked my children in, came back downstairs to watch a television show. As a mom, I like to make sure they're sleeping before I go to bed. So I had yet to take my evening medications. So that was another thing that they said was a potential possibility. So anyways, for some reason, I stood up to go to bed and fainted. Don't really have any conclusive reason why. Like I said, they blamed it on me being dehydrated from the things that had happened throughout the course of the whole week. Things that I had been trying to help myself have a bowel movement, for lack of a better word. I know not everybody likes to talk about that. Trust me, as a pharmacist, old people don't mind talking about it. It's like an everyday occurrence. And I'm here to tell you that you can actually hold a whole lot. So don't buy the enema, put it back on the shelf, unless someone tells you to. However, I shouldn't joke. It's not funny. I actually fainted and threw up, and my phone was in my hand. Regained consciousness at some point, called my husband, called my daughter's name out loud, and she came downstairs and called 911, and the ambulance came, took me to the hospital. Luckily, they took me to the hospital that my husband works at so that he was allowed to come hold my hand. And there was a small moment during that emergency room visit before I got admitted, that I genuinely remember feeling like I had to make a choice. Like I remember them rubbing on my chest and telling me that I had to breathe. And I was holding my husband's hand, and I had promised my daughter and everyone around me that I would never let go as long as I still had the ability to fight. But I remember thinking that I had a choice. I could either breathe or I could let go. So I breathed. Obviously, I'm still here. But the next day I had to send my daughter a text saying, I cannot imagine how hard it was for you to have come down the stairs and call 911 and then proceed to clean up what I had done on the floor. We had called a neighbor for some reason. I don't think that he either wanted to or thought about cleaning it up, so he let Lily clean it up. And I'm going to have to, and so she lived with the thought of that. So that's kind of the beginning of what led to the blindness that I will get into probably in the next session, if you will. So 2 falls, if you will, that led to a very terrible next fall. So that really, there's no wrap up or point to this particular episode except to say that life can really, really suck sometimes, and you can't take memories away from people. You can't take those memories out of their brains. Luckily, the kids weren't in school, so she didn't have to go to school the next day and try to explain to everybody what kind of mood she was in or why she was in a terrible mood. But I do think that if there's anything to be taken from this, it's again to remember that you don't know what kind of day anybody's having. So if it looks like somebody's struggling, try to give them the benefit of the doubt that there's a real reason that they're struggling. And be compassionate if you can, and give them distance if that's what you think they need. If you know them well enough to ask them how they are, then that's what you should do. We'll get a little bit more next time into the actual blindness part, but those were the first 2 falls that happened after I had gone on disability or pulled myself out of work. And ironically, luckily we had kept my insurance for no particular reason except for we weren't given a choice. We were told that we had to, which worked out because it's probably saved us a lot of money in hospital bills. So sometimes I think you need to count your blessings, even though you don't think that it's a blessing, because we were actually kind of mad about that. But so I guess there's 2 take-home points. So that wraps up today's. Actually, there might be 2 coming today, or I'm not sure how Lily's handling posting going forward, but that's her ball of wax. So if there was any questions up until now, I will try to answer them next time. So I hope people are continuing to watch and continuing to empathize or just learn from whatever it is that I might be sharing.